Welcome into another episode of Always Talking Ball. Tyler Noe, Lance Barton. Next on the list of Power Four Conference previews is the place where they say it just means more. That's right. It's the Southeastern Conference. Questions will be answered on this episode and during the season. What can we realistically expect from Arch Manning and the Texas Longhorns this season? Will Georgia rebound to defend its crown? Will Alabama reclaim its spot at the top? And who are some teams that, maybe if you were talking about could sneak into the championship picture, a la Texas A&M and South Carolina last season. Plus, we'll give you some win totals bets to place to hopefully win you a little Christmas shopping money when they cash in late November. Lance, speaking of spending some money, let everyone know about our partners at Frost Buddy.
Guys, seriously, we all know that we all want to keep our drinks cold. Like when we're tailgating, when football season's right around the corner, when we're watching games, sitting there with about 4 TVs rolling and watching multiple games at once. We're out there grilling, smoking some meat, or it's still summertime. You're out there on the lake or the pool, going to the beach or something. We all want to keep our beverages cold, and nothing does that more than Frost Buddy. You can go right now to frostbuddy.com/ATB. That's frostbuddy.com/ATB. Or you can look at that beautiful QR code there at the top right of the screen. It'll take you straight to frostbuddy.com. Check out all of their different Frost Buddies that they've got. These are like koozies that, again, keep your drinks cold, and they're universal. You can have a 12-ounce can. You can have a slim can like a seltzer or a Mick Ultra. You can have just regular soft drinks. You can have beer bottles, and you can have energy drinks. Literally, it's universal. All of those fit into one. And we're talking about the SEC today. They've got Alabama. They've got Tennessee. They've got LSU. They've got multiple teams throughout the SEC, and they've also got teams all across college sports, professional sports, and different like patriotic themes, USA themed and stuff. Go check them out, frostbuddy.com/ATB, or hit that QR code. And after you check out, this is really cool. They will give you a 30% discount basically towards your next purchase. They'll give you a 30% discount towards your next purchase on frostbuddy.com. So go check it out.
As you can see, joining us today from SEC Unfiltered. Honestly, man, we love Chris and everybody over there, but this is a man who is not afraid to give a scorching hot take or two. You can find him on X at Mr. Cole Thompson. It's Cole Thompson. Welcome into the show, buddy.
I don't know if that's a good thing or not, boys. Like, if I'm giving scorching hot takes, that either means I'm right on the money or I am dead wrong and I'm going to be on freezing cold takes tomorrow. But no, I love your show, guys. I really do. Like, when you guys reached out, I was beyond excited to come on. I'm always for independent podcasters that continuously want to see this platform grow. And you guys have been one of my favorite listens in the last month or so. So for anybody that checks out SEC Unfiltered, make sure that you guys follow the Always Talking Ball podcast. They do great work over here. That's so awesome when small worlds collide. Tyler loves Notre Dame. My grandfather and I grew up in a Notre Dame household. Mm-hmm. And Lance was at the same bar that I probably was in 2015 in Tuscaloosa. So you never know how lives pass and path. Let's rephrase that. You never know how lives will cross paths. Lo and behold, that's how you get the Always Talking About SEC Unfiltered collaboration.
Yep. Let's get into talking about the SEC, man. Let's start off with what I mentioned at the very top. Archmania in Texas. I know you're based down in Texas and you kind of have more lay of the land there. Just give me your overall thoughts. Everyone is expecting Arch to be a traditional Manning, right? I mean, he's got that last name. Do you think it's even possible for him to live up to that hype that everyone is giving him?
No, not even a little bit. Simple. And here's the reason why. It has nothing to do with his skill set. But every day we're adding in a new accolade. We're throwing in another honoree. We're throwing in another award that he has preseason won. And so you're stockpiling up all of this good grace that he has without really playing significant reps in college football. And now he has to attest to actually living up to the hype. So it comes to a point of where we have reached, here's Jesus. And then here right below is Arch Manning in the world of who we respect in the game of college football. And it's unjust. It really is. Like Texas, I think, is one of these teams that not enough people are paying attention to the rest of the roster. They're starting 4 new offensive linemen, and they just lost their potential starting right tackle to a torn ACL. Like, they were making a joke recently that Steve Sarkisian needs to go out and add a co-op to play right tackle because that's our best shot of having stability on that side of the line. They have 4 new weapons in the wide receiver and tight end spot. They had to re-back in a bunch of talent in the transfer portal at defensive tackle because they lost yet another group of guys in the top 90 picks of the NFL draft. They lost a Jim Thorpe Award winning defensive back. They lost another starter at safety. They have some questions at the linebacker spot outside of what you have in Anthony Hill. But then we also talk about the positive of this team. They have a 1,000-yard running back and Trey Wisner back, and they have C.J. Baxter, who, for my money, is the more polished, I think, upside running back. So this could be a very good Roshan Johnson, Bijan Robinson, circa 2022 moment. I love Jack Endries coming on in from Cal. He's, in my opinion, the best receiving tight end in college football. And when you know anything about Sark's offense, they love to get the tight ends involved. Tavian Sanders, Gunnar Helm last season. Emmett Mosley, I think, is going to be a stud. He led the ACC last year in freshman receptions from Stanford. You also have Ryan Wingo. A lot of people believe that Ryan Wingo's skill set is very iridescently evident compared to like a Cam Coleman. And because of Matthew Golden was taking over his reps, we didn't get to see him in full spark last year. But he built a good rapport with Arch in the offseason and throughout all of working with the second team offense that you think it's going to translate onto the field to be a really good balanced unit. And that's going to be a 1-2 combination that's lethal. DeAndre Moore in the slot, I think, is a really good player. And then you talk about the defense. You have Colin Simmons, who was arguably the most improved defensive player from week 1 to week 14 last season. Trey Moore is a former all defensive AAC defensive player of the year. I like the transfer portal additions at defensive tackle. And I think that they have the best player in the SEC in Nate Hill. Like I've made this clear multiple times. I understand that he's an off-ball linebacker, and we don't cherish that position or talk about it as prominently as we do the quarterback or the wide receiver spot. Anthony Hill is a top 5 player in college football for me. Like, I love his tape. There's nothing that he does wrong. He is a heat-seeking missile that is not afraid to go after bad takes and hit quarterbacks, knock them out in the face. And, like, we don't focus in on any of that because it's all on Arch Manning. Like, everything is just right onto Arch. And if it's not Arch and it's not 16 and it's not him winning a Heisman Trophy and it's not him leading you to an undefeated season, and if he's not averaging 325 passing yards per game, then you don't have a shot. Like that's what it is. And so it's unjust because I look at teams in the SEC. I look at South Carolina, perfect example. They have so many questions, and I still believe in them. But I believe because of Lenore Sellers as their quarterback, they stand a shot. Lenore Sellers has got to be on every single play, every single drive for South Carolina in major games to win. DJ Lagway at Florida has to be on every single game, every single drive if they want to win the big ones. Arch just needs to be slightly above average. If everything else hits, if the wide receiver room is decent, if the defense is still one of the best in college football, so we're putting this attitude of pressure on a guy who we don't even think needs to be the best player on his team every game for Texas to win. And the issue that I have with that is that we're going to come back and he's going to have, 275 passing yards and 2 touchdowns against Ohio State. And Lincoln Keenholzer, Julian Sang throws for 320 yards, and they go, see, Arch, we overhyped him. Like, we overdid it for him. Yeah, because if you built him on this pedestal that he was never going to be able to accomplish. He had to go win the Heisman Trophy. He had to solve the World Peace Hunger Fund. He had to make sure that he was able to fix what's wrong with our government. He also had to probably go ahead and figure out where's the 7th wonder of the world. We also probably need him to go ahead and make sure that Galetz was fun again. Like, he had to do a bunch of things that were going to have to happen that were impossible for him to meet the expectations to begin with. So it's unfair that we're doing this to a player who's just getting his feet wet in college football when there are other issues with Texas and other positives with Texas.
Hey, love the shout out to Galetz there, Cole, no doubt. So if you know, you know. Cole, this is a conference, man. I mean, we see that there's as many as 14 bowl teams possible in this conference when we're breaking it down and doing season predictions. So when you're talking about sleepers possibly that could win this conference, it's so deep. I mean, you're talking about teams like Oklahoma. You're talking about teams like Tennessee, South Carolina, maybe even an Ole Miss this year. Is there is there a team that, that maybe people are overlooking that could possibly be sitting there in the thick of it at the end of the year? Like a Texas A&M last year going into the Lone Star Showdown. If they win that game, they're playing for an SEC championship with a chance to bring home the chip. Is there a team that you see that could do that this year?
Am I gonna say it? Because like apparently I have like this infatuation, little hate with Texas A&M, and I don't. Like I don't. And I made this comparison not too long ago. Texas A&M is like NHL coming to Houston. I'll believe it when I see it. Like the years where they actually start to really get past that 8-4 range, I'll believe it when I see it. I want to believe it this year because I do. Because in my opinion, they're going to have the best rushing attack in the SEC. Le'Veon Moss is fully healthy. I don't think enough people realize how talented of a player Ruben Owens is. Great secondary option, especially when it comes to open field, making defenders miss. Amari Daniels is a good third down back. He's got that power bruising mentality that just lets you fight for those extra yards. So they can win on the ground. And again, Colin Klein's offense is predicated to mobility and a lot of options to the outside and a lot of opportunities to take the corner and be able to just milk the clock as much as possible, win the time of possession. They have some wide receivers that are also really, really good. I think Mario Craver is been one of the highlights of fall camp so far. Like every single route, he is just winning with pure speed. And what was funny is I talked to Will Lee at SEC Media Days, and he said the wide receiver that gave him the most trouble last year was Mario Craver. So when Texas A&M saw him in the portal, they knew immediately this is a guy we got to go after. Casey Concepcion is a top 10 wide receiver for me going into last year because of what he did at NC State. Like he was phenomenal, just a chain mover, constantly winning his one-on-one battles in the Z position and just making first down grabs for who was the quarterback that year? It wasn't Grayson McCall. It was somebody. I don't know who it was. It was somebody else. Devin Leary, maybe? Yeah, I don't know. Anyways, that team, that NC State team, had a really good continuity in the passing attack. And I know Mike Elko's defense is always going to be prepared. Like he said after the loss to USC in the Vegas Bowl, the best part about this season is I never have to look at that defense again. Like when a coach that is a defensive-minded coach says that about his unit, you know it's bad. And so he spent an entire offseason bettering the odds on getting in more talented pieces, spending amplitude, time of working with that defensive back room to not give up explosive plays. That pass rush to get a lot better. There's questions within, but it still is Mike Elko's defense. The thing that I worry about is two things. Number one, Marcel Reed. Marcel Reed can hit the home run ball. Like, I have watched him in practice. I saw him come in for Jalen Henderson in the Texas Bowl in person in 2023. He had like 361 passing yards, and he had like 4 passes of over 30 yards downfield. The LSU game when he came on in, and LSU was winning, he ended up having 2 big-time passes, and each went for 30 yards. And they were the only 2 passes he completed that game. He won with his legs. Can you hit the singles and the doubles? Like, can you hit that 7-yard slant route on a 2nd and 6 that's going to move the chains? Can you be a guy that gets an 18-yard comeback to be in your favor where you're not throwing into double coverage and you're able to put yourself in a prime position to really open up the playbook on the following play and get a new fresh set of downs? Because I just don't want to think of him as being a guy that is only going to be 40 yards down the field, Terry Bussey, Casey Concepcion, Mario Craver. That's the way we win, and we win on the ground because then your offense becomes predictable and teams know how to prepare for you better. But the other thing that I worry about is that pass rush. Last season, Texas A&M had 3 guys go to the NFL draft: Nick Scorton, Shamar Stewart, Shamar Turner. They ranked actually pretty low compared to what you envisioned with that type of talent with Texas A&M in pass rush win rate and also in sack totals. Like they were like 54th and 65th in the country in those areas, which is not what you expected when you got those players. And they didn't have a double-digit sack leader. Well, you have Cassius Howell, who's going to step on up into a bigger role, which I think is a good thing. But who is that secondary guy? Like, who are you trusting to be the running mate for him on the opposing side? And it doesn't have to be maybe an outside line. I mean, it doesn't have to be a defensive end. It doesn't have to be like a Ryland Kennedy. It could be Albert Regis in the interior. It could be Torian York. It could be Scooby Williams. It could be your nickel defender. Like any one of these guys that can put pressure on a quarterback with the delayed blitzes and get a quarterback to move outside the pocket is beneficial. But I just don't know who that guy is. And like I know the Texas A&M fans are so sick and tired of hearing the 8-4 jokes. Texas 8-4, Texas 8-4. People say it because it's the reality right now. And when I look at this team, I think that 8-4 is not a bad season when you look at some of the teams on the schedule. You got to go play in South Bend this year. You don't know what Florida is going to be, but Florida feels like that it's a more polished offense if they have a healthy DJ Lagway, where this game's going to come down to the wire. You lost to Auburn last year, and they were a 5-7 team. Auburn right now, maybe the most improved team in the conference. We just got to see it in person. You also have games against Arkansas in Fayetteville. The Razorbacks win one upset every single year. Like it's bound to happen. And this is the first time that matchup isn't going to be held in Arlington since 2014. You got to go play at Texas this season. So there's so many moments where you can just slip on up if you're Texas A&M. But if everything goes according to plan, you could be going into that matchup in Austin with an opportunity for one of the Texas schools to be playing in Atlanta. Like, it wouldn't shock me. I'm not banking on it, but it wouldn't shock me. I will throw a little bit of respect to Missouri as well, because Missouri's schedule's easy. Like, and I know that people want to go ahead and make fun of Missouri because of, are they really in the southeastern region? No, but you know what? Tiger fans have always been nice to me, so I always give them a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. I give them love, and now apparently I'm crapping on them for not putting them in my top 25. But, like, they have 21 new transfers. They have, 17 new starters. But, guys, I think you know what the best medicine and best remedy to building team chemistry. Not leaving home. They don't leave the state of Missouri until October 18th.
Until they go to Auburn.
They have 6 straight games and 7 straight weeks to build that continuity in drills, in live reps. They don't have to play in any hostile environment until they go to Jordan Hare. And then the games that they have on the road this year, they're all winnable in my opinion. So, like, you're telling me that if I'm looking at Mizzou and Kevin Coleman, who was phenomenal last season at Mississippi State, that nobody talked about because of it was Mississippi State, ends up breaking on out. And one of the other receivers can turn into like a Theo Wease 2.0. And Ahmad Hardy comes in from ULM, and he doesn't drop a beat from the G5 level to the SEC competition. And the offensive lineman that they brought in to replace Armand Membu is really, really good. And the interior does a good job of consistently blocking. And the defense with Corey Batoon has several guys that end up having breakout seasons, whether it be Trotter or Jones, the kid from Georgia, or they get a good play from the cornerback they added on in Norwood and Jalen Catalan at safety. Like, their schedule is so manageable to where they may not be the second or third best team in the SEC, but as long as they win, there we go. I mean, like, there were times last year that Tennessee relied so heavily on its rushing attack and its defense to win at football games, and the offense was pedestrian outside that, but they were 10-2, and you're 10-2 in a major conference, you're going to the college football playoff. So, like, Missouri to me is so intriguing just because of that 6-game homestand, how quickly you can build that rapport. Because if you do, you're in a really, really, really good spot.
From a win totals perspective, let me just ask you on that really quick, Cole. Do you think that Mizzou, the win total is 6.5? Do you like the fact they could possibly go over that 6 win total and go around 7? I mean, and put you on the spot. Do you think they could be a 7-5, 8-4 type team with that schedule?
I'm hammering the 7-5. Hands down, I'm hammering the 7-5. Like, because I don't have them in my top 25 right now, and I have Mizzou fans like, how dare you betray us? And I'm like, I refuse to do that to you guys. Like, I got your back. I promise you. Now, I may not pick you to go to the college football playoff, but I'm not sold on Auburn. I'm not sold on Arkansas. I got my questions with Vandy. I got my questions with Oklahoma. I think you're going to get an upset win somewhere. So 7-5 is going to happen. The 8-4 is where the conversation, I think, is teetering. That 8-4, 9-3 range, I got to see it. What I will appreciate about this team is that Eli Drinkwitz beats his own drum. Like, and there's a certain brand of football players that go to Mizzou. Like, they're what's the way to put it? They're these names that they know what they're signing up for. Like, you're not getting players to come to Mizzou because of, oh, well, you know, it's a great program and that we think this is. No, they want to be at Mizzou. Like, it's not because of, oh, I didn't get an offer to be at LSU. I didn't get an offer to go to Florida State. No, they're like, no, I got an offer to play at Mizzou, and I'm going to come here and beat ass at Mizzou. Like, that's what I'm here to do.
They play so hard, man. That's been something that they've done ever since Drink's taken over. It jumps off the page, bro, how hard that they play.
They also, I think, have that no-nonsense identity about themselves where they don't care what the outside noise is. They don't care what people say about them. They like who they are as a program. And if you do not play to their standard, they'll let you know. Like, the internal factor will let you know. And also, I think Memorial Stadium is one of the more underappreciated atmospheres in college football. It's a great Saturday environment. And I'm really excited for that game against Kansas. Like, so I grew up in Houston, so I was around Big 12 country my entire life. And I try to explain to people, like, why is this game so important in that sense? Like, if you knew the atmosphere in Kansas City when these two went up against each other in the Chase Daniel era, and you had Mark Mangino standing on the other sideline, like there were like it was bad. Like I remember like hearing about the Iron Bowl, and like this is an Iron Bowl level, but it is certainly like what I would call Kmart brand Iron Bowl level. Like nowhere near the same level as like Walmart, but you know what? Kmart's still fine. There's a lot of people that enjoy that type of that type of shopping environment. That's what this rivalry is.
Cole, I actually live right outside of St. Louis now in O'Fallon, Missouri, like not too far from Como. And I've been to some basketball games there at Como before. And, dude, it's just like when you go to Bama and they play Dixieland Delight at a bar or wherever it's at, everybody's screaming F Auburn and LSU and Tennessee too. They play Mr. Brightside and they chant FKU. FKU, just over and over and over again. Doesn't matter if it's at a bar, if you're in St. Louis somewhere, if you're at a basketball game, football game. Yeah, you're right, man. That border war is nasty, and I'm so glad we've got that back. Yeah,
and what's so great is I think that the players, because I was talking to several of them, Connor Tollerson, I actually asked him about that at SEC Media Days, and he understood what that matchup was.
Yeah.
And what was really important was they apparently brought in a historian this offseason that knew about the border war, and went into detail about every single reason why you hate Kansas and why Kansas hates you. So the fact that we're getting that game and that everybody in that building understands it's more than just a game, I think raises the stakes so much more for a field.
No, I love it, man. And hey, since we're already rolling here on win totals, that's going to lead us right into it. You had just talked a lot about Texas A&M. So it's like you had my show notes right here in front of you, Cole. Jake Crane did the same thing on this. I've got Texas A&M over 7.5, man. I mean, again, I know the joke is you can always count on Texas A&M going 8-4. Hey, 8-4 gets you to the window and get you to the green and get you paid around Thanksgiving for some walking around money for Christmas time. I've actually got A&M right now teetering with going 9-3. Last year, you mentioned Mike Elko talked about his exact quote was, "I won't watch our defense play like this ever again."
Because it's a slap in the face if you're a player on that team.
Yeah, dude.
How do you not just hate yourself afterwards?
And it's because the last 4 games of the season against P4 teams last year, they gave up 35 points per game. I mean, that's why they lost all 4 of those games against P4 opponents. But if you look, I believe Mike Elko. Because if you look at his track record, he drastically improved his defenses in year 2 and year 3 at previous stops when he was the DC at Texas A&M under Jimbo, when he was the DC at Notre Dame in the past, when he was a DC at Wake Forest, and when he was the head coach at Duke. Duke was absolute just cheeks on defense year 1 when he got there and before he got there, and then he turned him into a top 30 defense immediately in year 2. So do I think he could do that with the talent he's going to have?
To me, that Duke turnaround in 2022 was one of the most impressive things I've ever seen.
Absolutely.
Because you already mentioned it. The defense was 115th in every single category. They ranked top 30 in almost every single category and only a few transfers. So I don't doubt the defense. I don't because it's Mike Elko.
Yeah.
The Jimbo thing always bothered me. And the reason the Jimbo thing always bothered me is because they set him up in such a disoriented advantage to where it was kind of you have to do X, Y, and Z to impress us. And that's never been Texas A&M style. It really has. If you know anything about the 12-man, the type of mentality that they play with and the way that they go about their pride in their culture, Jimbo was not somebody that fit the bill. But they sign him up, they bring out the red carpet. They give him a plaque that says Texas A&M national champions 20 insert the last 2 years here. It was just so weird the way that they went about it. And then Jimbo was so contradictive of himself because he constantly was shooting himself in the foot that they had no choice to fire him. And then the Mark Stoops thing that happened, and that was Greg Schiano going to Tennessee was a bully fest. This was call the dogs to Texags, and we're going to make sure that this thing happens, shuts it down immediately because they wanted Mike Elko. And Elko, I think, was the right hire because if he's a culture hire. Yeah. And I think that's the type of guy that you need. When R.C. Slocum was running the show in Texas A&M, and they had the Wrecking Crew defense and they had the Maroon Goon offensive line, it was because of the type of mentality that R.C. Slocum was coaching with and the way Jackie Sherrill was coaching. And I think that Mike Elko is that guy. And I don't know if they're this year going to do the inevitable of making the college football playoff, but at some point, the Texas 8-4 jokes are coming to an end. It may not be 2024, 2025, but they're going to come to an end. 7.5 again is an easy bet because of, I think, even when you look at the questions that you have with this team, the other answers that you already know are so well put together that 8-4 should be at least the standard. Like, you lose to Texas, you lose to Notre Dame, you drop a game that you shouldn't win, that you should win, and you win a game that you shouldn't. Like, those are all things that we can expect going into this year. So, like, would it shock you guys? Just be honest. Would it shock you if Florida is undefeated? They beat Texas. They beat Miami. They're undefeated going into College Station. And Texas A&M is coming off of a loss from Notre Dame. They beat Florida. And they beat Florida outright by like 20 points. And they dominate that game. And then they lose to Arkansas in Fayetteville. Would it shock you?
Not at all, man.
Because of it's Texas A&M. Like, that's what they do all the time. And I'm not saying it's the Arkansas game. It may end up being Auburn is dreadful. Auburn looks awful against Baylor. They don't show up in the game against Oklahoma, and then they show up in Kyle Field. Like, it may be that game, but like, that's A&M. They're gonna win a game that they shouldn't. They're gonna lose a game that they shouldn't.
Yep.
And then they're gonna lose 2 other games that they probably are not the better competition. And that's what we get every single year. But like 8-4, 7.5 win total, that's easy money. Like, to me, that's thank you for my first drink at the bar on Thanksgiving weekend to go ahead and kick things off.
I love it. All right, Ty, on you, brother.
Yeah, let me hit you with a team that everyone has been talking about, but they've got a tough schedule, and that's the Oklahoma Sooners. Right now, you can get them at 6.5 at some books, but you have to pay like minus 180 to get them there. I would be comfortable, shockingly, taking it at either, buying it up to 7 or maybe even going to 7.5 for plus money. This is a team that was absolutely handcuffed by injuries last year. They were one of Oklahoma's worst offenses in decades. That wide receiver room was meant to be a strength last year. The top 5 wide receivers got injured, most notably. I mean, Deion Burks is back. They got Isaiah Satenga from Arkansas. Giovanni Gibson's coming in. I just think everyone's talked about it. The John Mateer, Ben Arbuckle combination, quarterback OC coming in from Washington State. I know they didn't play the SEC level competition that he's going to face this year, but man, like the things we're hearing about Mateer coming out of fall camp and, when he was in the spring, like just his leadership abilities, I think that transition to with Arbuckle there, same offense and everything makes it so much easier. You look at the offensive line too. Everyone, that's where the questions come from, right? They had injuries too. They had 8 different starting combinations last year, but Bill Bedenbaugh is an elite offensive line coach there. I mean, you got to trust him to get it right. And then on the defensive side of the ball, Brent Venables is going to do what he does best, right? He's going to call that defense. We saw him at Clemson for all those years. We saw him at Oklahoma before that. And just, for good measure, he brought in Wes Goodwin, his good buddy from Clemson. So, to someone to back him up there, the schedule is just a gauntlet again, man. I mean, Illinois State and Kent State, those are W's, right? I think that week 2 game, huge swing game, I think they beat Michigan at home. I know Michigan's defense is good. True freshman quarterback in his first road start ever. I mean, he may prove me wrong, and Bryce Underwood may just absolutely light him up. But very rarely, no matter how good you are, do we see freshman quarterbacks go on the road like that in hostile environments and perform well. They get Auburn at home, like you mentioned. I think they can start off the season 5-0. So you think, okay, it's 5-0, man. Like they're going to get to 7-8 wins easy, right? The 6-week stretch that they have is just absolutely brutal, man. Texas in the Red River rivalry, at South Carolina, Ole Miss at home, at Tennessee, bye week, and at Bama. I think they could probably, if they go 2-3 there, like maybe, we've seen crazier things than them upsetting, Texas in the shootout. Ole Miss at home is a winnable game. Probably not going to win at Bama, with that revenge game coming. So that gets you at 7-3 with 2 left. Both of them are at home, Missouri and LSU to end the year. You get one of those, you got 8 W's, and you get to the window. What do you think?
All right, so I didn't want to break your concentration, Tyler, but I got to call you out on this one. In this state, it is not known as the Red River rivalry. We call it the Red River shootout. There is no other name for it, and I don't care what boosters or what any advertising says. This is what the game is. This is what the game will always be. I'm glad that you brought that up because let me just the thing about Oklahoma is their schedule. You could sit at 6-0. You beat Texas. Like, let's say you just beat Texas and you're sitting at 6-0 and you're on cloud 9. Here comes the dark and stormy cloud of dismay and despair of you're going 0-6 the rest of the season because of what is currently facing you. Like, that's the reality. Like, I got to hold your hand and turn you to the second trap. Like, you ever seen like those movies where like you're going like through level 1, level 2, level 3, and then it's like you go to level 6, it's like, oh, this is the final level until you reach the boss level, which is basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 all combined into one. Like, that's Oklahoma's second half of the season.
Yeah.
I will say there were a couple throws that I saw on social. There's a couple throws that I've seen on film from people that were at practice that probably had Vegas sitting up in the middle of the night and realizing, oh, we're going to have some suckers hit the over on this one. Oh, John Mateer is going to win us some money. Like, Vegas has got to be so excited watching those type of plays because Mateer is going to make people do some stupid things with money. Like, he really is. Just, he's so poised in this offense that I think makes it so unique for people to buy into Oklahoma. Like, I'm buying into Oklahoma. I am. But, like, the thing is that people are calling out, like, oh, he played at Washington State. He played against a G5 level competition. Boys, you could play a Bumbleskunk University. If you are the number 1 returning player in total yards and touchdowns, you play college football. You're pretty damn good at it. And you also, this is also, you're not learning a new style of offense. They brought your offensive coordinator and he handpicked you to follow him from Pullman down to Norman. Like, he was calling plays and being like that second voice of reason for the offense by week 2 in camp. Like, this guy shows up and he's starting to take over and like demanding respect, and people in the locker room are like, okay, yeah, why are we going to doubt him? He already knows the offense better than we do. Why is this going to be a problem for us? So that's a huge blessing in disguise for, I think, Oklahoma to have that veteranship and that on-field mentality. The other thing, there's a certain player that fits the Oklahoma quarterback system, and it is a no-nonsense, I don't care what you say about me, I'm going to go out and prove to you why I'm better than you in every single way, shape, and form. And the last 3 quarterbacks that were in the Big Apple for the Heisman Trophy presentation, 2 won it, 1 didn't. And I still claim him down in Tuscaloosa. Lance, we can claim him. He is an Alabama Crimson Tide for as long as
absolutely.
But like every single one of them carry themselves with this attitude of, I'm better than you. I don't care what you say about me. Kyler Murray, Baker Mayfield, Jalen Hurts. John Mateer carries himself that same way. He knows he's good. He knows he's talented. He is not afraid to go ahead and talk smack to you. He is not afraid to go ahead and let it uncork against you. That, I think, is exactly what you need if you are an Oklahoma quarterback. Like, you have to play that way. And especially with this schedule, you have to go into every single game thinking, I'm better than Lenore Sellers. I'm better than Austin Simmons. I'm better than Ty Simpson. Arch Manning is a dud. Jackson Arnold, you suck so bad that I replaced you down here. Bryce Underwood, you got paid millions of dollars to be a mediocre quarterback in Ann Arbor. That's the mentality you have to have, and I think that he has it. The Jaden Ott move, I think, was the best move of the entire offseason for a scheme fit for an offense. Because of the way he plays football is what Ben Arbuckle wants in that running back position. Like, Wayshawn Parker, he probably wasn't going to get an offer from Oklahoma, but he's going to Utah, and I think he's going to have a great year out there. It's a very similar type of role. Like, there is a running back that you want that can be versatile on early downs to get into the open field and then be that swing option in the flats to go ahead and move the chains and not drop passes. When Jaden Ott was at his peak at California, that was what he did. He was a great third down ball mover and a chain mover in the passing game, and he was physical enough to be able to win in between the trenches and then turn upfield. My main question with Oklahoma still comes down to the offensive line. Like, we can talk about the wide receiver position, and yes, on paper, it's upgraded because of Isaiah Zatenga comes on in, and Giovanni Gibson looked awesome in spring before he dealt with that shoulder injury, and Deion Burks looks really good when he's out there on the field. But this offensive line allowed 58 sacks last year. That was the most among Power 4 teams. That's not sustainable. Like it doesn't matter who your quarterback is. It doesn't matter who is going to be running the football. If they don't have room to run or even get a playoff, you're screwed. Like, that's really what it comes down to. And Bill Beatonbow is such a good offensive line coach that, like, I don't doubt him to be able to figure out where this team can go and how you have to fix it and how you have to work out a couple of little intricacies to make you in a better position. But, like, a lot of people looked at Texas and Oklahoma when they were coming into the SEC, and they were like, well, the schedule for Texas is so easy, they're just going to go ahead and coast on by. Yeah, it was, but Texas also addressed an area that Oklahoma didn't. They went after offensive linemen that Bama was looking at, that LSU was looking at, the Texas A&M and Georgia and Florida were all looking at, because of Steve Sarkisian knew firsthand, you want to win in the SEC, it doesn't matter what you have of the personnel. If you do not have the 5 bullies up front, you don't have a shot. And that ultimately, I think, was the downfall of Oklahoma last year, whether it was Jackson Arnold or Michael Hawkins. Your inability to get your quarterback to feel comfortable in the pocket on a 7-step drawback ultimately cost you multiple games. And thankfully, the Kip Six in Auburn was good enough to get you bowl eligibility, and then the Alabama upset. So, like, you still were able to keep the tradition alive of going to a bowl game, but you didn't look like an Oklahoma team last year. The 6.5 was the win total. Man, that's tough. Like, yes, I'm going to hammer the over on it because I just think that they're going to be undefeated going into that Red River game. They're going to get a win over either Ole Miss and or Missouri and Tennessee. So that automatically puts you at 6. Now you just got to ask yourself, can they win one of the next 3, which is South Carolina, LSU, or Texas? Okay, they just win one, and then that's 7. And you're 7-5, and that's not okay in Oklahoma, and that never will be accepted in Oklahoma. But I'm talking about bets. I'm talking about win totals. I'm not talking about what it's not my money that I'm going to be wasting to pay the buyout for Brent Venables. I'm talking about the money that's coming in my pocket. I think that Oklahoma hits. There's something about John Mateer that just sells me on the idea that they're going to be probably in the hunt going into the final week of the regular season.
Love it, Cole. I'm going to keep rolling here with one. I got another over here. It's really strange seeing this team and seeing the number 9.5 next to their name. But I just honestly, man, I personally think it's disrespectful to Kirby Smart in Georgia to have a win total.
God.
To have a win total of 9.5. I mean, with all of last year's woes, man, being 102nd in the country and rushing on offense, all the injuries they had along the offensive line, the injuries they had in the backfield of the running back position, leading the nation in drop passes, and they still found a way to win 10 games, win the SEC against the number 1 ranked strength of schedule in the country. And then with this year's team, man, I just think that this Kirby Smart team is more of a type of Kirby Smart team that he wants, more of a blue-collared type squad, more of a team that's got a chip on their shoulder. The quarterback's got a chip on his shoulder. Nobody believes in him. Everybody acts like that Gunnar Stockton can't play. Obviously, the jury's out. We'll see. But I just have belief that Georgia and Kirby Smart do not recruit dumbasses to come there and play quarterback and come there and play some of their top positions. There's a reason why they're one of the top talent acquisition programs in the entire country. I'm a believer in Nate Frazier. Huge believer in Nate Frazier. I don't think that we got to see, the dude was a true freshman with a ton on his shoulders last year in the SEC because of injuries to ETN and other running backs around him. So he got a lot placed on his shoulders. I think he's the next great one at Georgia. I love they went out and got Josh McCray from Illinois. There's a name that a lot of people are talking about, like Georgia people are talking about, and Bo Walker.
Say his name. Say his name.
Yeah,
yes.
Man. A lot of people talking about that guy after the spring game and through fall camp. So I think that there's just, when there's smoke, there's fire. There's just a lot of talk about Bo Walker. So I think we're going to see him early. I also think, too, the receiver position, stop me if you've heard this before. Colby Young had legal issues last year at Georgia. But he's – yeah, exactly. He's back now, at least for now. But he's your more like him and Noah Thomas, a transfer from A&M. They're more your bigger body, go up and get the rock type of X receivers. And it allows them to put a person like Dylan Bell, who is a great versatile athlete that can play tailback. He can play in the slot.
Throw another bubble screen, Bobo. Throw another bubble screen, Bobo.
Throw another bubble screen, Bobo. That's what Georgia fans are yelling at us, my man, one time or whatever like that. But yeah, if you're going to throw bubble screens and quick screens, get the rock in the hands to someone like Zachariah Branch and Dylan Bell out on the perimeter quick. You can do that now because of Colby Young and Noah Thomas. I love the tight end room too, obviously, with Oscar Delp and Lawson Lucky. Defensively, dude, I'm never worried about a freaking defense as long as Kirby Smart is the head coach there and, Schumann back as defensive coordinator. I know they're replacing some guys like Mykel Williams and Jalen Walker and Malachi Starks. When is Georgia not replacing studs on defense? I mean, they do it all the time. Do I think they're going to be the 2021, 2022 defense up front? Probably not. But do I still think that they'll be one of the best defensive fronts in the country? Absolutely. And I think they've arguably got the best inside linebacker tandem in the country in C.J. Allen and Raylan Wilson that they're bringing back. They've got plenty of dudes in the secondary, so I'm not worried about the Georgia defense. Schedule-wise, I like the fact that they get their buys before Bama and before Florida. Now, I realize that they're saying other teams have their buys before those games as well. And they get bottom tier teams like Kentucky and Mississippi State before they go to Auburn and before they play against Texas. They catch Tennessee at the best time to catch them in Knoxville, which is early in the season when Tennessee's trying to figure out their quarterback situation. Now, I realize that's Gunnar Stockton's first road game, and that's a terrible place to go on your first road game. But Josh Heupel, for whatever reason, his offense just has been absolutely stoned by Kirby Smart in Georgia his entire tenure at Tennessee so far. So I look at this Georgia dude. I could see them. They're one of the few teams in all of college football that I could see going 11-1, but I definitely like the fact that they could go 10-2 and get over that 9.5.
So then I'm just going to tell you right now, hammer the 9.5.
Yeah.
Like, just do that. Did you know, both of you, that last season, many people thought that was Kirby Smart's best coaching job because of the drops, because of the quarterback position, because of they didn't have that bark on the interior offensive line. They didn't have it on the defensive line either, in my opinion. They weren't that physical, punch you in the mouth team, and then you say thank you that you're not going to hit me again because I can't handle the pressure. Like, they weren't that type of defensive line last season, and they still won the SEC.
Yeah, Cole, I don't mean to cut you off here, but like that's a perfect example. We've been talking about that a lot. Have you ever seen a Kirby Smart coach team, even his days at Alabama as a DC?
No.
I've never seen a Kirby Smart coach team line up and get their ass physically whipped like they did against Ole Miss and like they did against Notre Dame at points during those games.
They got whipped at times against Texas. They got whipped against Alabama. They got whipped at times, in my opinion, against Tennessee. They got whipped they got whipped against Georgia Tech to where they came back and we had 7 overtimes.
Right.
Like, they got whipped at times. They wasn't the patented team. But did you know that this year is the most talented team that Kirby Smart has ever assembled based off of the blue chip ratio?
Sounds about right.
It's the most talented team that he has ever had on campus. So it's like, you really want to doubt Kirby Smart when he on paper has most talented roster. You brought up a couple names. The blue collar quarterback, I just think is his stock. Like, it's his shtick, and it's boring. And it's a dude that we're never going to see make it to the NFL, I think, as like the premier passer, like we'll see at maybe a Florida or like an LSU or something like that. But the bottom line is that, and I had this conversation last year with somebody because they said Jackson Dart's not a first round pick. Jackson Dart is an overrated NFL quarterback. I could give a crap less what you do on the Sunday game when I'm focusing on the Saturday game. That to me is all I care about. Don't care what you do in your future endeavors with the NFL. Hope you make a lot of money. But I'm focusing in on what you can do on Saturday. Yep. And I thought Jackson Dart was the best quarterback in the SEC last season, even though he had his moments. But I was hellbent on that being the truth. If Gunnar Stockton, this blue chip quarterback that plays with a brand of, I am a meat and potatoes type of dude, I like to pull my tractor, and I am all about the hard farm work type of mentality, then the night lifestyle. If that's the quarterback that works in a Kirby Smart-led team, that's the one that you can appreciate that will take you to a national title. And I think that he has that. I also think it's unfair the way that we talk about Gunnar Stockton having to face like all this pressure because of, look at what happened in the SEC title game. You mean the game that he had to come in, fill in, and still find a way to win? Yeah, he did that. That was pretty cool. I mean, yeah, he had a bad play. Like, he had a bad interception, but he still made plays. Oh, but look at what he did against Notre Dame in the Sugar Bowl. You mean how a couple of wide receivers ran the wrong routes and he misfired them because of afterwards Kirby said that it was the wide receiver's fault and that he had one bad fumble to close out the first half because the offensive line got bullied? Yeah, that's all on him.
And bro, think about the two defenses you're talking about too in those games. Like, that's his first start ever is against freaking Notre Dame and Marcus Freeman and Al Golden in that defense. I mean,
in an elimination game. Yeah. In an elimination. Yeah. Screw it. Yeah, buddy, that's all on you. So it's like, you had an entire offseason to be the guy. You had an entire offseason to learn the ins and outs of what Mike Bobo's offense is. And I get it. Bobo is hated by the Georgia Bulldog fans. Yeah, he's going to be gone, I think, after this season, regardless. I'm not sure if it's going to be because if he retires or he's fired, but I think this is his last year. But still, like, I just trust that type of quarterback to run the offense that you want because we've seen it work before in the past. There's never been a more SEC running back to exist than Bo Walker. Like, when you're named after 2 Heisman Trophy winning running backs, you have a lot of expectations to meet, boys. Like you have got to be the dude pretty early on. And we actually did a bowl prediction video for every team in the SEC, and I said Bo Walker was going to lead the team in rushing yards. Like, do I believe it? Maybe that's why it's a bold prediction. But like, if you pair him, the thing with Georgia is you have to have that secondary running back. Look at the teams that were always so well built to go on 10 plus wins and make it to New Year's 6 bowl games. And if we had the 12-team playoff back in 2013 and 14, like Todd Gurley could trust Keith Marshall to be that guy. Sony Michel could be the running mate to Nick Chubb. You look at even a few years ago what they had in the backfield, like their ability to trust just a solid rushing attack is always, I think, beneficial. And that's what you got, whether it be with Bo Walker or Josh McCray coming on in from Illinois to pair alongside with Nate Frazier. It takes pressure off of him to have to be that dude. What's really interesting is that offensive line, it was bullied last year, but they didn't go into the portal. Like, did you guys notice that this past year? They said, you know what? We still like our offensive line. We very much like the direction of where this team is. We just think that we got to get more comfortable. They have 4 returning starters, which I think is really beneficial for Stacey Sales to work with. The wide receiver room is going to be better because it can't get much worse. I mean, like, when you lead the country in drops, it's bad. Like, it's very bad. And that, by the way, like, we don't talk enough about that. That should be the biggest marker of how impressive it was that Kirby was still able to lead this team to an 11-win season and SEC title when Georgia, like, I'm going to say that again, Georgia, a program that we view as one of the pinnacles of college football, leads the country in drops. Like, that should say how good of a coaching job you had. Noah Thomas doesn't drop anything. He's going to be a mismatch nightmare, I think, inside the red zone, because if he was at Texas A&M, Zachariah Branch getting out of Lincoln Riley's system is going to be really interesting. I heard from people out in Athens that the second that he touched down on campus, he was already speaking with the wide receiver coaches, and he was speaking with Coley about like what should be some things that you can utilize him best as. And he was very attentive to the offense. He was going through, when I need to cut here, what do I need to do here? Like, very much is going to be involved in this play style in so many different ways. You brought up Dylan Bell. I think he can be that Swiss Army knife. I think that London Humphreys is going to have a better year. I think that just another season in the system is going to do wonders for him. That tight end room is awesome. Like, It's not Brock Bowers, and you don't have like the 2-time John Mackey Award winner. Okay, that's fine. But like, when you look at the names they do have, Lawson Lucky is one. You brought up Oscar Delp, which I thought was also one that was really, really poignant. They have a third guy, and I'm blanking on his name right now. Top of my head. What is it? Riddell, Jalen Riddell, the redshirt freshman. Like, he would start for like 50 or 60 Power 4 program teams, and he's your third stringer at Georgia. Like, you're fine in that standpoint. And then the defense, it's Glenn Schumann, it's Kirby Smart calling the plays. Remember the name Ella Medusi. I hope everybody knows about the Army transfer that came on in, because if some people are going to be like, you think that he's the breakout player in the SEC this year? No, I don't think. I know he will be the breakout player in the SEC this year because he was so great at Army as a run defender. And what did you do? You said, hey, Glenn Schumann, get your hands on this outside jack linebacker and turn him into a first-round pick. Because you've already done it with like so many other players. What's another dude that already is a masterclass when it comes to run defense that just needs to get a little bit more polished when taking angles into the backfield as a pass rusher? Like, you gave him to Georgia. You gave him to Glenn Schumann. You gave him to the mastermind of getting players to the pros at the linebacker position at what has become linebacker U. Like, I am so excited to see how much more refined he is as a pass rusher, leaving the American Conference and coming on over to the SEC. They're going 10-2 at least. Like I think at this point, it's a lot like Texas A&M. I'll believe it when I see it. When I see people ranking Georgia outside of the top 6 in the preseason poll or saying they're going to go 9-3, I'll believe it when I see it, because I can't. Like, it's part of the grace that you get by constantly doing your job at an elite level that we give you the benefit of the doubt on times when we don't know truly what you are going into this season. Like, that's where you're at, is I'm giving you the benefit of being a team that has shown me time and time again, with so many flaws, you're still Georgia. So like 10-2 is going to happen. They may not go to Atlanta this year, but also, is that like a bad thing? Like, think about this, guys. if they don't win the SEC and they were the runner-up, in 2 weeks they're going to have to turn around and play a game. If they don't go to Atlanta and they're guaranteed to host a home game at Sanford, they get an extra week to kind of get healthy and prepare. And then we saw last season 2 teams that didn't play in a conference championship. One, Notre Dame, because they're not in a conference, but I don't really give a crap about that one. But still, 2 teams that didn't play in a conference championship, that extra week to prepare was actually better for them, and they went to the national title game.
And they wouldn't have lost their starting quarterback to injury that they lost in the SEC championship game.
Exactly. And then what are we talking about with Carson Beck? Does he go pro? Is he at Miami? Is Miami crap out of luck going into this year? Like, what are we talking about at this point? So, like, it's not a bad thing if you go 10-2. Like, yes, I know what the expectation is down in Athens. I get what you can say about this team, but like, to me right now, I'm not believing that if you don't win the SEC title, it shows that you're a weak roster. I don't see it. Yeah. And watch them end up winning it. Like, just watch me doubting them to go to the SEC title game, and they use this as motivation fuel. Like, nobody's doing the 7-5 crap. Nolan Smith, it's not happening. But like, I see Georgia fans right now. They're like, we love this bulletin board material for what? 10-2 and hosting a playoff game. God, you were spoiled, and I love it. I love it.
Well, this was an absolute blast, man. Can't thank you enough for coming on. Let the people know where they can find you once again. Let them know what things Chris and the guys over at SEC Unfiltered have cooking this season.
Yeah, so if you want to go ahead and spam me all the time on my social media, it's at Mr. Cole Thompson. You can hate my takes literally in my DMs. I have plenty of Tennessee fans to attest to that right now. We're finishing up our season previews for the SEC Unfiltered channel. Our 3 biggest game stretches is what I'm working on right now. X Factor players are coming out next week. The actual predictions are coming out later on this week. My actual explanation video just dropped recently on the top 25 teams for 2025. In my opinion, going into this year, we have our college football playoff selection show on Monday. If you want to check that out, Chris and I will be unveiling our 12 teams. And we got a bunch of other content that's going to be bleeding out the eyeballs, especially when it comes to season previews, because we do all 16 teams. We do all reactions. We do Sunday Fun Day every single week. We have 2 live streams at 8 o'clock every single Monday and Thursday, so check it out there. And as always, if you want to give me a follow, it's at Mr. Cole Thompson on social media. I'm basically there everywhere, except on TikTok, which is at Cole Thompson CFB. Because somebody, and I don't understand this, and it pisses me off, who is going by Mr. Cole Thompson? Like, honestly, who stole my mononym? Like, who did that? Because that's what I've been known as for the last 8 years on social media. And somebody decided to steal it from me on TikTok.
Well, good stuff, man. Appreciate you coming on, man. We already can't wait to have you on again sometime. Appreciate you guys listening in, man. We know it was a little bit of a longer episode, but this is the SEC, and we just, it just means more, like the moniker says. So, again, subscribe on Apple, Spotify, YouTube. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and X. For Cole Thompson and Lance Barton, I'm Tyler Noe. Take care. Have a great rest of your day, and we will see you next time.